Welcome to Dissecting the 80s. I am one half of the mega podcasting powers, Trip Lano. And with me, as always, is my tag team partner, a man who has never had to hide from a bully in a dumpster, the Macho Andrew.
Andrew Lano. I also wasn't bullied for having a dead mom, so...
Yeah, pretty rough bullying, I would say, the dead mom bullying. This is our final episode of the 2022 Listener Request Month, and let's hear it from Jenna in Baltimore.
Hey, Trip and Andrew. This is Jenna calling from Baltimore, Maryland. I'm so excited that Dissecting the 80s is doing a fan pick month. So my pick for this month is the NeverEnding Story, and that's because it is a personal favorite of mine. I would love to hear your guys' take on it, especially that weird, very sad horse death scene. And also it has all the best makings of a great 80s movie, including a theme song written just for the movie and really interesting puppetry all throughout. Awesome job, guys. Love listening and can't wait to hear what you all pick.
Thank you so much for that. Thank you for calling in. And thank you to everybody who called in episodes on Listener Request Month. I guess I shouldn't say it's the final Listener Request Month episode. It's the final main feed Listener Request Month, because if you head over to patreon.com/dissecting-the-80s, there will be one more episode, probably in a couple of weeks, up there on the Bill Murray vehicle Stripes, which will be a lot of fun to talk about, I think. We haven't recorded that one yet, but I'm looking forward to it. But anyway, we watched The NeverEnding Story, so you know what that means.
We gotta go back. We gotta go dissect the 80s. It's your catchy as hell theme song. Something about your catchy as hell theme song.
When the mega powers explode.
I'm talking about the 80s. Oh, yeah.
Great Scott!
Cream of the crop. Oh, yeah.
Mega powers, yeah!
When this baby hits 88 miles per hour, you're gonna see some serious shit.
This is going to sound like I'm dunking on the movie, but definitely the best part of this movie, right?
I will say I enjoyed this movie, but...
Me too.
But the song slaps.
Yeah, I mean, it's just very good. The movie is like a solid, I think, like...
Solid B.
B. Yeah, but the theme song is genuinely great. I will say, it's been a long time since I watched this movie, and I remembered, like, vague...
I don't think I've ever seen it.
Oh, really? Okay, that's interesting.
I feel like we had the VHS tape, because I remember being on your side, like your side of the tapes.
the Trip v. Andrew.
Yeah, because your side had the Star Wars Tridge in the box set with the like half face thing, and then I want to say you had this too.
I don't remember the tape, but I'm not denying its existence, Senator. Yeah, I mean, it's certainly possible. Definitely a movie I have seen before. It's like, I remember the dog, but it was a dragon, but I remember it as a dog.
It looks like a dog.
I remember the flying dog. And I remember the names being weird. I think I remember Atreyu and Falcor, honestly, more from the Lonely Island album, where they do like a very odd interlude of them. How do we put this politely? Having sex, I think, is what they're implying.
I don't know what song that is.
There's like a interlude on the album, like, you know how like rap albums have sketches,
kind of
little skits. It's like the Beastie Boys would put like a 38 track album out, and like 9 of them are little skits.
Vaguely,
or Dre did it and stuff. Anyway, one of the little skits is like Atreyu and Falcor. It's like a very dumb audio joke. Anyway, it's not important. It's irrelevant to the proceedings. But I will say, I completely forgot the main character of this movie's name is Bastian. And at no point is it implied that this is like, oh, his name is Sebastian and it goes down to Bastian.
Yeah.
It's just his name is Bastian.
Because that's his name. And I've never heard that name, but I like it. It's interesting.
Yeah. It's an oddball name. We meet him coming downstairs. We very quickly find out that mom is dead.
And dad's putting orange juice and a raw egg in the blender, right? Is that what it was? Orange juice, right?
Yeah, it sure seems like what he's doing. Yeah. I mean, I guess like ceviche style, it might cook the egg if it's acidic enough, but it seems like a terrible idea.
Ceviche is a delicious thing. A raw egg in a blender with some orange juice. With some Tropicana.
I'm with you.
I don't know that I would call that ceviche.
No, I was just saying, like, in the way
in the
that
spirit
the acid cooks the fish. I'm just saying the acid of the orange juice might technically make it safe to eat that raw egg. Is all I meant.
Oh, I wonder if that's a thing. like acid with egg to cook it.
Like you can definitely curdle an egg with lime juice or something. I'm certain that would happen. Like I don't think you could do like a whole. I don't know. It would take like a lot of lime juice. I feel to cook a whole egg, but maybe. The dad here, who's the actor whose name I did not write down, played the bad guy in the A-Team movie remake that I enjoy quite a bit. So I was like, oh, look at this guy. I forgot he was here.
I liked that movie, but I can't remember anything about it.
The only thing I really remember is the part where they like dangle a tank off a parachute and use the tank's weapon to move the parachute. They like launch
to like go side to side, right?
Or like to slow down eventually. They like launch them. It's like, you know, they push themselves back. It's like WALL-E floating, but with a tank. Like you got to push yourself off, create air resistance, like WALL-E does with the fire extinguisher. Or is that Eve? One of them does.
I think it's WALL-E.
I think it's WALL-E. Yeah, like WALL-E with the fire extinguisher. They like shoot tank missiles. Not a missile, probably. Someone's gonna correct me. Shell. I'm not sure. But he's like, he does the real classic like 80s movie dad. He's really I think he's only in this one scene.
Pretty much.
It's like stop daydreaming and mourning your mother, kid. Well, shape up.
I didn't even see it like that. It felt to me more like. Mom's not recently dead. And okay. I got Mom's not recently dead, and it's sort of like, hey, kiddo, at what point are we going to accept reality?
Yeah, okay. I buy that. I do buy that.
Because he seemed based on gentler than you would expect for this scene.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. And Bastian here was David in Cocoon, the little grandson. Left. And was almost blew the whole thing, and also played Daryl in Daryl, which maybe future episode.
I don't think I know Daryl.
It's Daryl. I remember reading the book as a kid and then watching the movie. It was like it might be a computer kid. It's possible.
Okay, I was like, was it a science experiment kid? Because I feel like we read a lot of those.
It could. It's in that genre is my memory, but someone out there is like furiously tweeting like, no, that's not Daryl. But I think that's Daryl. So anyway, he's on his way to school, and he's running away from some bullies who were like, "Hey, aren't you the kid with the dead mom?" As you alluded to earlier.
Also, not even just the bullies and Bastian, but like random pedestrians are just walking in the street. Like no one's using the sidewalk.
Yeah, it is very.
Tell me you're in a movie without telling me you're in a movie.
Exactly, yeah. And then I don't know where it happens in this chase sequence, but at one point they like bump into an older man who drops a
glass bottle.
He's the director of the movie.
Oh, that's fun. That's a good little cameo. Yeah. Enough to be like, that's easily like the guy who drops the milk bottle. That's me, but you don't distract.
Yeah. Right, exactly. But I love that like he had the bullies like chase him. They're like, get in the dumpster. We'll put you in there. And Bastian's like, okay. And like he climbs into the dumpster voluntarily. But he like does like the pop your head up move like a cartoon. And it's all full of straw.
I thought it was like that like shreddy paper that they'll use to fill like Easter grass, but paper.
Could be. I was pretty certain it was like hay. This was a dumpster full of hay.
Yeah, in Vancouver.
Yeah,
the Vancouver hay dumpsters.
But one of my favorite sequences of the real world part of the movie is like he like kind of like, you know, waits for the bullies to leave, sort of pokes his head out. He's doing like, you know, an exaggerated sort of like sneak away walk, and then the bullies spot him and they're like, "Hey, get back in that dumpster."
Well, yeah, it's funny. I enjoyed that part.
It's funny.
Also, what movie did we recently do where they made fun of someone for having a dead mom? I feel like within the last like couple months we did something because we both were like, that can't be a thing.
It seems like an off out of bounds area for bullying the dead parent.
Even in it, that's what they say. Right, they're like, hey, who's the stuttering one? Is it Bill? Bill, yeah. They're like, Bill, your brother's been gone for a whole year. That means we can make fun of you again. And I was like, you know what? It's something.
It's like you can make fun of them, but not for having a dead mom.
Yeah,
you know what
I mean? Dead brother.
Yeah. I saw the other day when I was out taking a walk, it was raining. There was a woman and her child who was wearing like a full-on Georgia rain outfit. And I was like, lady, you're pushing your luck here.
Give him the boat already.
Yeah, exactly. So Bastian goes running off. He's trying to hide. He ends up in a bookstore, and he has like a little trip moment here where the bookstore's like, owner's like, you kids don't read. What are you doing in my bookstore? Like, and the kid's like, actually, and he starts rattling off all the books he reads.
Shut up, angry old man.
Director is Wolfgang Peterson, by the way. He directed Das Boot and Enemy Mine, which people probably know who are like, more cinephiles. But I know Air Force One and the Poseidon remake.
Oh, honestly, my Air Force One is more of the Pair Force One skit sequence that they did on Bob's Burgers.
Right. It's an extremely violent movie, but it's a good 90s action movie if you're in the mood for one of those. Yeah. So my read on this is the bookkeeper like intentionally leaves the.
Oh, he's like basically doing Postlethwaite. Is that who it is in
Pete Postlethwaite?
Yes, Pete Postle. He is a wink at the audience at the camera away from being Postlethwaite from James and the Giant Peach. Yeah.
And that is what you've just finished watching.
Does he eat it or grab it? I feel like there's a.
I think he. Yeah, I don't think he eats it, or I don't know. Maybe
I feel like there's a physical gesture to be like button.
I thought he closes the book.
No, he's not in a book.
Okay. I don't remember. It's been a very long time since I watched or read James and the Giant Peach, but I remember the book ended with, and that's what you just finished reading.
Yeah.
And then I found it. Yeah, I do remember this bit. Anyway, Sebastian's got the NeverEnding Story.
It feels like the Page Master, which I haven't seen in a very long time, but like the sequence, I was like, the Page Master.
Yeah, definitely Page Master vibes. I mean, these are all of like a similar oeuvre, the Page Master, NeverEnding Story.
Yeah.
There's another similar like fantasy kids thing with
Kid in Arthur
Labyrinth. Maybe I feel like Labyrinth sort of is in this.
Yeah, realm, Secret Chosen One situation.
Yeah. But he's late for his math test, so he's like, I know, I'll go hide in the attic of my school.
I didn't get it. I will say there are a few things in this movie that I just like. I don't. Maybe the book explains better. I don't know. I don't think so because this is apparently so different than the book that the author like hates it.
Oh, one of those situations.
He was like,
the Stephen King-ism.
He tried to get his name taken off and the name changed.
Oh, wow.
And they were like, no. And so he sued them and then got overruled in court. And I was like, how? Wow. You'd think the guy who wrote it being like, this isn't my book. Like, you can't just put my name put the name on it.
Yeah, that is fascinating. I'm sure it includes enough elements from the book so as to be like, legally it is an adaptation,
Yeah. He also has a weird briefcase book bag thing.
It is a weird briefcase book bag.
It doesn't look like it's a messenger bag because it's got the handle.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's like a little tiny businessman.
Yeah. But he goes into school, sees he's late, goes, oh, the math test. I better go hide. And I was like, but what's the goal here? Like,
I'm guessing it's like if I'm absent the whole day, I get to make up the math test. Whereas if I show up halfway through math, they're going to be like, well, you got half a period. Go ahead and do the math test,
Okay. That's okay. That I can see.
That feels like my move in this situation of like, oh no, I've made a huge mistake.
Yeah, I can see that.
So he starts reading and we start seeing some miniatures and puppets.
Some Evil Dead shots.
Yes, very Evil Dead shots. And one of the actors here is Deep Roy, who played all of the Oompa Loompas in that Willy Wonka remake.
Mm-hmm. He's done a lot of. I feel like he's done a lot of character work like that, in terms of like playing creatures or like non-human characters.
Yes, definitely. He's dubbed over here with a voice that does not like it. It's. Not only it's not like one of those like, oh, yeah, like the funny thing of like a very deep voice coming out of like a very small person kind of thing.
Yeah.
But it doesn't sync all that well, in my opinion. It kind of took me out of it all the time.
No. And also apparently Atreyu and
Falcor.
Apparently Atreyu's voice is not his voice.
Oh, that I didn't. So clearly they were capable.
In IMDb, it says that like at a 2010 con, the actor for Atreyu said that they dubbed him.
Interesting.
But I don't.
If they did, it's very good.
Yeah, that's the best mouth work in the movie.
Yeah. So Rockbiter, probably the coolest creature character in the movie for my money.
He looks so familiar. And like,
probably just because you watched this movie and forgot about it.
Yeah, I mean, I've also seen video essays about it. I think Cracked did one like 15 years ago during the After Hours show that we used to watch all the time.
Mm-hmm.
But it feels, there's something about it that felt kind of Ozian in that like Rocky Return to Oz we did.
He's snacking on some limestone, which I like, that he has opinions on different rocks that he eats. It's like, yeah, of course he does. You know, that's his food.
Also, it's all real. The giant snail, the rock monster, the bat creature, the goblin. It's all real.
Right. And it's like, does all of it work? No. But I personally would much rather see a big foam rock almost hit Deep Roy than all of it be PlayStation cutscenes.
Yeah. The only thing that I would like for a movie like this is that, like, when he opens the book to start reading, I would love for, like, the world to kind of grow out of the ground around him.
That would be cool.
And then the camera can pan so he's gone from the shot.
Yeah.
But, like, that would be the only instance of, like, let's use some CGI to, like, grow the world and show that he's being immersed into the book.
You probably could have figured out how to do that back then without the part where it like physically comes out of the book, but just like sort of like a replacement shot.
Oh no, I didn't mean from the book. I meant like he's in the attic and he opens it and just like out of the floor of the attic rises like trees and the rocks and stuff.
Got it. So we learned about the villain of the movie, which is called the Nothing. Not the most creative name in the world, but It does describe what happens, which is the absence of anything.
It also,
which is kind of a terrifying children's villain. Sorry,
it is. But I feel like this whole movie is, and maybe the books too, I don't know, is just like metaphors for mental illness, and maybe not illness in the right way, but like a lot of it seems like depression and anxiety and like different responses to depression. And I was just like,
I do feel like this is supposed to be like the manifestation of his grief is always how, or not always, is how I read it.
You as an 8-year-old was like, yes.
8-year-old, this is a manifestation on his grief. Mom, they're manifesting his grief with rock monsters.
That's nice.
The cut to me a week or so from now, going to get a text from Mom. She's like, you would have said something like that.
Or you did say something like that.
Exactly. But yeah, you're totally right. Like this absolutely is easily a metaphor for depression or, grief or how somebody deals with stuff like that. For sure.
So everyone's going
very Raimi vibes specifically for the Nothing. You had mentioned it earlier, but I thought it was really noticeable during the Nothing parts. Yeah, for sure.
Because it's all the like low kind of shaky forest shots.
Right.
Also, I know they're just like screensavers at this point in 2022, but the shots of the swirling nothing, I really like them. They're really pretty.
Yeah, agreed. And a really cool matte painting comes up here of the castle. It's just like, again, does it look real? Like, no, but we're in fantasy world. Who cares?
Yeah, we're in Fantasia. And so everyone has sent like, it's very Oz. I've made a couple points of Oz in my notes.
Yeah.
So sort of like the Munchkins and the Winkies and the Waddling, they all send their people to the wizard to be like, we need help because of the Nothing. And they're like,
the difference, I guess not the difference, the other similarity with Oz is that like every one of these designs is a little bit terrifying.
Yeah, just a little bit.
I was imagining watching this as a child being like, I would have been afraid of all of these. Every single one.
The four-faced people.
Yeah. There's like one, the closest to like a regular old human still has like a big, pointy head kind of thing going on.
The like high, the like vizier kind of dude.
Yeah. He's got like a weird outfit and like strange eyebrows. Like it's exactly enough that I was like, oh my God.
Yeah. But so they're all like, we need the Empress to save us. And he's like, well, she's dying. So we can't, like everything's fucked, everybody. Sorry.
Yeah, it's over. Wrap it up.
Game over, man.
Been alive. Yeah, exactly. Good to have been alive, but no more.
So they're like, we've reached out to these like plains people who hunt purple buffalo, and they're sending their greatest warrior. And this is a moment where I'm like, I know it's supposed to be like old Okie Smoky times, and like we can't text message, but like it feels like there was no communication between the Empress and her like gang and the plains people beyond send us someone, because Atreyu shows up. He's this child with beautiful hair.
Yeah.
And they're like
luscious golden locks, or
not golden,
but luscious locks.
And they're like, get out, child. We're waiting for the warrior. And he's like, well, then I'll leave. And they're like, what? And I'm like, so they didn't describe who they were sending. And then
he picked up a staff and was like, bang, bang, I am the
No, he clinked the bottles together.
Yeah. Well, yes. He's like, I'm here to play.
Yeah, thank you. I couldn't think of the quote beyond the clinking.
Yeah, I honestly, though, it's like, I feel like you send a follow-up text when you're like, hey, Plains folks, so glad that you were able to contribute, but your best warrior is an 11-year-old? Like, what is your warrior training like out there?
Are y'all okay?
Yeah, did everyone of age die? What? How did you get this far down the list?
But
this is
then
some red badge of courage ass shit.
Atreyu goes, well, what quest are you sending me on? And I was like, they didn't say that in their first letter?
It was just like, send us a warrior, please.
Yeah, no one thought to ask any follow-up questions.
It was the letter from the Monster Squad.
Yes, we need help, like, military.
Dear military guys, we need help. Dear Plains people, send us a warrior, and it's spelled like WURROR. Or it's WORRY-ER.
There it is. Yeah, and I was just like, shouldn't this conversation, like, I know for the movie purposes, like, we needed to know a little bit, but like, they didn't hash a little bit of this out beforehand.
Right.
Because I also don't.
You just switch it so that Atreyu says some of the words.
Yeah,
and it's clear that there has been some information relayed. Yeah,
because I also don't like that it's the same problem I had with what's the Tom Cruise movie we did? Legend. It's not clear in what's supposed to. They're like, we need you to go find a cure for the princess's disease, and I was like, okay, like, you have to go to whom, to where, like, find the rare flower on the tall peak, like,
yes,
because in Wizard of Oz, it's follow the yellow brick road and you'll get there. There's a clear path. This just feels like, I don't know
the goal. The quest is so vague as to be like, go figure out a solution to this problem.
And it's like, well, we don't really know what the problem is. So, like, how can we fix it?
Right. It's not well defined. We cut to Bastian reading, and I love that he takes like a bite of his sandwich and then is like, no, gotta pace myself, and puts it away and then goes back to reading.
I was like, that's a little sad, kid.
It was very clearly, it's like, we gotta cut back to the kid at some point. Like, otherwise we're just doing the Princess Brides. Like, we need that interlude.
Yeah. I guess I didn't understand why he didn't leave the school. Like, why did he have to? Yeah. Because later he's like, he goes and he's like, everyone's gone. Now I'm sad. And I was like, but you hid all day.
Yeah. I got the impression it was like midnight at that point, and I was like, where's the police?
Where's his father?
Being like, where's my son? Yeah. So we cut back to, is it the Pit of Sadness?
Also, Atreyu was told that he had to go alone and had to give up all his possessions, but he got to keep his horse. Yeah. I call bullshit.
Maybe the horse is considered a friend.
But he had to go alone. That's what it's like. They said you have to go alone and give up your possessions. And I was like,
the horse is in a weird limbic state. Of
the horse doesn't count as either.
It's Schrodinger's horse paradox. It's like the horse is neither a companion nor an object.
But yeah, they get to this. I think it's the Swamp of Sadness.
That's it. Yeah, I called it the Pit of Despair, but that's incorrect.
And feels like a huge metaphor for depression. We're like, if you let yourself be consumed by the sadness, you will drown.
Yeah, no, it's a really wonderful metaphor, but also they 100% tortured a horse.
Although we don't ever see it go below the neck.
I agreed, but this horse was very clearly like tethered down in all four legs so that it wouldn't like freak out and buck, and you can just see actual terror in the eyes of this animal. It was deeply weird to watch.
Well, apparently he was the actor who played Atreyu was gifted the horse after production.
Oh.
So, but he couldn't. It was like a lot of red tape and money to like get it home because there's like, immunizations and whatever, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And he was like, I can't afford that. So sorry. I would love to keep this horse, but I can't.
Yeah. He also apparently had a pretty bad back injury during the filming of this movie that has like plagued him for his whole life.
Yeah. He got thrown off the horse, right?
Sad life updates. Yeah. But this horse looks terrified in this sequence. It just looks actually scared. It's either the best horse puppet ever, which I don't think it is, or it's a very.
I've seen the puppets in this movie.
Yeah.
But also like the concept of like if you stop and like let the sadness consume you, you will drown. Cool for people. I love that idea for people.
Yeah.
Non-sentient animals feel like they should be exempt from this because they don't have the concept of sadness like that.
Right. The horse's level of happiness is pretty determined by whether or not it has access to oats and water.
Oh, and a sugar cube.
Yeah.
Like BoJack Horseman, sure, let him drown.
Yeah.
This horse,
that is a horseman.
Yeah, this is just a horse.
Right there in the name.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that just seemed a little fucked up that they were like, and non-sentient animals also.
Yeah, it was like, well, didn't we say he's not allowed to have any companions or tools? And they're like, yeah. It's like, well, he's got a horse. And like, well, what if we just killed it very quickly by having it drown in quicksand?
Yeah,
And then we cut back to Bastian, meanwhile, and he is like scream sobbing in the attic. And I was like, surely this is how this child gets caught for being a delinquent, right? And he's just like, no!
But also, I'm like, you can't be that invested in this character yet. Like,
no, he just met him.
I was like, Atreyu can be because that's Artax is his horse. But like, you just met this horse and he's gone.
Yeah.
And then this is another thing that like, it feels like that the movie didn't want to share everything because as Atreyu seems to be like still in the swamp of sadness, he goes, Morla, the Shell Mountain. And I was like, I don't know what any of these things are.
Yeah.
Should I like, they didn't if you mention at the top, like, hey, go to the Shell Mountain.
Just because he says it in a way that he clearly knows doesn't mean that I and the audience know.
Yes. So he climbs up this little.
So is this when the like meta story starts?
Not quite.
He's talking to the. Okay.
The true meta is later at the statues.
I thought there was a part here where like.
Oh, you know what?
Crying.
Yes. Okay.
Crying starts. Okay.
So Atreyu is on top of this like mountain thing, and it starts to rise, and with how much footage they have, this poor kid must have fallen for hours down a muddy slope.
Yeah.
Sorry,
we're gonna have to need to take that again. Yeah. 13th take.
We didn't check the gate. Sorry.
It's not running. So sound wasn't rolling. It's just it happens, kid.
I'm aiming for you, buddy. When I tumble down this fucking hill, you better run.
It's just like, ooh, ow, ooh, ow, ooh, ah.
But it's an old ass turtle.
Yes.
And it doesn't. It just looks like an old turtle. But when we see its face, the kid reading screams.
Yes.
And I was like, what are you screaming at, kid?
There is some like Earth mythos, like, or how the planet was created mythos that's like balanced on the back of turtles. That is something like that. Yeah. They talk about that in It too. It's like some ancient stuff.
I think I thought that was kind of what we were referencing. This Discworld series also talks about that. I haven't read it.
Discworld has a turtle thing. Yeah, I've not read extensively, but the few of them that I have read are very entertaining. Pratchett's a good writer.
But yeah, this old turtle pops its head out, and the kid screams, and I was like, "Where are you screaming?" And then Atreyu and that turtle both like react as though they heard the scream.
Yes.
That's what I think. That's what you're talking about.
As a kid, yeah, because I was like, as a kid, this would have blown my mind, and I think that would have like really been like, holy crap, like what? The story is merging.
Yeah, and this is another metaphor for mental illness because the turtle doesn't give a shit about anything, and I'm like, that's we're getting like this. My theory, I'm like, this is really cool.
Yeah. And like most people battling depression, allergic to youth.
Very that.
Yeah, but you're totally right. It was, I was thinking of more about like the processing of grief or trauma, but depression makes just as much sense as any other explanation. I think it's a good.
I mean, I wonder if I went like with the concept, the 5 stages, is that of grief? Is that the
yeah.
I mean,
denial, bargaining, anger,
acceptance.
Yeah.
That like I wonder if you watch it with that in mind, maybe I could like find like, oh, it's more the stages, even though the stages of grief are not for other people, it's for someone dying.
Yes, yeah, that's true.
Originally,
but it is. I mean, most people do process trauma with most of like those feelings are part of.
But like the 5 stages were conceptualized as someone who is dying.
Yeah. I'm dying. Here's how to deal with it. Yeah.
But yeah, the turtle is like, I'm allergic to youth, and I don't care to help you because I just don't care about anything. And I was like,
Yeah.
Depression.
Yeah. I do like that he sneezes him flat off a tree. That was a fun little wire stunt.
Yeah. Right into the mud again.
Mm-hmm.
He and
it's doing it for somebody.
He and that girl and Lex from Jurassic Park were trading horror stories.
Yes, exactly. She like called him up for advice.
No, wait, oh yeah, no, I was like, yes.
Way later.
But the turtle says you can go to the Southern Oracle. It's 10,000 miles away from here, and I was like, I mean, we're getting somewhere with telling me where we're going. I still don't fully grasp it.
Yeah. I almost wanted like a big fantasy map, right?
You wanted the Game of Thrones opening to open the movie?
Yeah, I mean, that would have been solid, honestly. Or just like a big map on the wall that's like you have to, like, your quest is to complete this arduous journey through the swamp of sadness, through the mountains of whatever, you know? And then it's like, oh, the reason they don't do that is because a dog picks him up and flies him the whole distance while he's asleep.
Which, like, why hasn't the dog been involved the whole time?
Yeah.
But at one point, the Bastian is like they say something, and Bastian like kind of perks up and flips the book, and I thought he was going to open to like the front, like inside front cover, and there was going to be a map there, and I was like, thank God.
Yeah,
but no, it was just looking at the stupid design on the front that they're like, which apparently is magic, and they don't tell us it's magic until the end.
Yeah, a big oversight, frankly, to not like make it like a little bit of like sparkle magic when the kid opens the book or touches the book would have been, I think, a big boost to this. You know, just like
that too.
80s like ripple magic when he opens it, just a little touch. This is when the big storm rolls in the real world, right? And Bastian gets all afraid.
Yes, because this is where Bastian realizes he's alone in the school, and he's like, "Well, I guess I'm here forever." And I was like, "You have a father who's gonna notice that you're not home."
In my headcanon, it's also Friday, so he's like, well, I'm here till Monday. Guess I better make smaller bites of my sandwich.
You're not in the mall. This isn't fun.
Yeah, I know.
So he gets scared by the attic thunderstorm and all the spooky shadows, and then he's like, Atreyu wouldn't be scared. And I'm like, you barely know Atreyu, kid.
You've known Atreyu for 12 to 15 pages. That's not
for
acting like
maybe 3 chapters at this point. And so Atreyu gets, starting to get sucked in the swamp of sadness because he's overwhelmed. And then Gamork is running for him. Gamork is like the wolf with the cat eyes that worked. Yeah. We just know he's evil.
I spent way too much time being like, all right, is that something spelled backwards? No. Is it like rearrange the letters? No, it's just weird. Okay, got it. We're in fantasy realm.
Yeah.
Got it.
But then Falcor scoops up Atreyu from the swamp of sadness in the nick of time.
And Bastian's reaction to this in the real world, he looks like spent. Like if this kid rolled.
I did not care for that. I was like, it's just a hair too far for me, buddy.
Yes, yeah. It's like this kid looks like he needs a cigarette and a long period of heavy breathing, which is an odd reaction to this part of this book.
Oh, also, I forgot to mention earlier, they say Atreyu and his horse have been going for a week, and I was like, well, the princess is dying. So, okay.
Yes.
And then after Falcor scoops him up, he goes, after a few days of unconsciousness, Atreyu awoken. And I was like, does no one give a shit? Is there no time crunch?
This movie plows through 10 days in like 42 minutes of runtime.
If that.
Look, we always talk about movies are too long, but it's like I am more than halfway through my notes for this movie, and we are almost done with the plot already.
Yeah, it's like insanity.
Crazy how quickly this movie just... Which is great. Like, it's a kid movie. It
flies. I love the pacing, but it's just... Because at one point I was like, there's 20 minutes left. There's 5 minutes left in this movie. What are we doing?
The ending part is so quickly handled. It is bonkers.
Yeah,
it feels like hardcore re-editing, but who knows? I didn't see any evidence of that when I looked.
Falcor's mouth matching isn't splendid.
It's downright bad. The mouth just, it's like when they tell you as a little kid, they're like, just if you're like when you're singing and like, if you forget the words, just mouth watermelon over and over again.
Mm-hmm. Watermelon cantaloupe.
Yeah. I never heard the two fruit.
That way you get some variation in what you're saying.
Alternation. Yeah, no, it makes more sense. But yeah, the dog is just going like watermelon, 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 watermelon. And I'm going to keep calling it a dog because look, let's be honest. It's
a dog dragon. It's a doggin.
They call him a dragon, but it is a dog.
But I was like, no one can be Little Shop of Horrors. Like, they didn't get Jim Henson Studios.
Right.
The puppet work is good in this movie. It's not incredible, but it's really good.
Yeah, and I'm sure I didn't notice it as a kid.
Oh my god, no. But then Atreyu goes, well, it's nice to finally have a friend again, because his horse is dead and whatever.
Yeah.
And then Falcor goes, you have other friends. Look, 2 people you've never met before, and neither has the audience. Yes. And I was like,
yes.
Okay, got it.
These people will help us on our journey. And imagine like when we're doing Falcor impressions that our mouth just like moves in no combination or no synchronization with the words. Yeah, this is Urgel and Engiwook?
I don't remember.
Engiwook. I wrote it down. I looked it up and wrote it down. Then my handwriting is atrocious. I think it's Engiwook. But they do science and potions respectively.
Yes.
They're very, very similar to Billy Crystal
and in the Princess
Carol.
Bride.
Yes. Carol. It's Carol.
Is it Carol Kane?
Is it? I thought it was.
I don't remember.
My memory is it's Carol Kane. So if I'm wrong,
she sounds right. Yeah, she feels right.
It's like exactly
spiritually, it's Carol Kane.
Yeah. Billy Crystal is doing the science is Urgel, so that's the Billy Crystal, and then Engiwook is the potions, which is definitely the Carol Kane.
Yes. Well, then there's a point where Atreyu walks up to their little like cave thing, and it's like, oh, they're small. Got it. They're small. And then she like brews him a potion, and she's holding an okay size. It's not like she's holding like a French fry bucket from the boardwalk, but it's like a small mixing bowl that she hands to Atreus. I'm like, oh, it's gotta be like a thimble based on the scale that they're showing us.
Yeah.
And then he picks up like a somewhere between like a Dixie mouthwash cup and a Solo cup, and I was like, well, hold up, that's a different size.
She seems to be no higher than his ankle. Like, wait a minute.
Yes. So she like gives him a potion to heal him, and then the science man is like, well, we can help you on your journey to the Southern Oracle. Because Falcor also says, I took you most of the way.
Falcor's like, I took you 99.7% of the way, but I felt like you should do some of the work.
Well, I think it's because he has to go through the gates by himself. Like, I don't think you can fly over the gates, is the assumption.
Yeah. Although, he flew over every other obstacle. What's the difference?
Yeah. So the Billy Crystal type takes him to the roof to look at his telescope, and there's 2
I love this little like ski lift bucket thing he's got to get
the basket system from And Then There Were None.
Yes. Yeah. Very good.
So he's like, look, when the Sphinx opens its eyes, it looks for someone who doesn't. I thought he said it looks for someone who can't possibly know their true worth. And I was like, oh, it's like a diamond in the rough situation. It's Aladdin. And so he's like,
to go to your metaphor of like depression and sadness is like people like who are experiencing depression aren't able to see their actual value. Like that's part of it.
Exactly. And so
it's like supposed to represent the Zoloft.
Yes. It's the vertical bed from the commercial.
Yeah.
And so they like watch this night. It felt very like the like prince from Aladdin who comes in the beginning, who's like, you're a street rat.
Yes,
that's what it feels like energy wise.
Yeah.
And the Sphinx open their eyes and just fucking blast the shit out of him.
He's also like, this is probably a more accurate depiction of a knight, but normally when you see a knight in a movie, they have like some level of mobility. This looks like a guy who's just clutching onto this horse for dear. Like he's been bolted to this horse.
Yes.
No other choice. He is going.
He clicks in like a Lego.
Exactly.
And they're like, wow. They like watch this guy get destroyed, and it's like, well. And then Atreyu's like, I'm gonna try it, and the guy's like, well, I didn't tell you about the next one. And I was like, yeah, like let's learn a little bit about what we're doing here.
Like, nope, rushing in blindly. That's my move.
So he like slides down and like walks up to the thing, and then he goes, be confident. Because he goes like, don't doubt yourself. And I was like, but I thought they were looking for someone who wasn't confident. Like,
yeah.
And then their eyes charge up, and he just like dives through the gate. And I was like, okay, so it's not about your self-worth. It's about how fast you are.
Yeah, exactly. It was like he believed in himself so hard that they missed.
I guess.
That's the only explanation that makes sense based on the setup.
Because I was like, hang on, so you can just be fast about it. This is dumb.
Yeah, and again, like if that is the case, why did the dog not just drop him off on the other side?
Or why did that other knight just not like charge through it?
Yes, yeah, that seems to make much more sense.
So they're all excited that he made it through the first gate, which I don't get why it's impressive. He just jumped.
Yeah, but they show Urkel like ride back down in his little basket, except it goes way too fast and he crashes.
Because he's so excited.
Yeah.
And then, what's it? Nurgla? The wife?
It looks like Engiwook.
Engiwook it is. I can't look it up.
I can't either. So I'm guessing that my note, it says Engiwook is correct.
Engiwook. She's on top of Falcor giving him a jab. Like an injection.
Yeah. She's punching him in the face.
Well, jab is a thing, like British expression for, or I think it was just British.
Yeah. Well, we've all decided that's what we're calling shots now in the Roni era. But it's funny to me that we just are like, oh yeah, I got my jab. Like what? That's not. We never said that before 2020.
You don't. I mean, the Brits did. It was in Shaun of the Dead.
Well, we're not the Brits.
We got our jabs. We went to the Isle of Wales. Because she's like magic. Although I'm like, so is it science magic? Like, is this medicine?
It's like this is where their efforts come together.
Yes.
She makes a potion and puts it in his hypodermic needle and then injects it into his body.
Because she's the one with the needle. She's doing the stabbing.
Right.
But then he's like, but I wasn't able to tell him about the magic mirror challenge or whatever, or gate.
The magic mirror challenge sounds like something that would be done at like a Disney park.
Like a TikTok thing?
Yeah. It's like people filming themselves in the bathroom until someone harasses them and tells them to stop.
Well, there's only bathrooms at the exit of the bathroom. There's only mirrors at the exits of the bathrooms in Disney World. So
yeah.
It's all of a sudden he's at Cair Paravel in Narnia, walking up to the White Witch's castle.
Yeah.
And there's I guess it's a mirror, only because they told us it was a mirror.
Right.
And he can see the boy reading. He sees Bastian, and I was like, okay.
So so like when the meta thing started, I was like, it's kind of surprising that it's not the same actor with like a wig on, or like they filmed all the one scene with the long hair and then they gave him a haircut and filmed all the other scenes, you know? Like, you know, a lot of people when they read a book see themselves as the main character.
Yeah.
So it was surprising to me that that was not the way.
I'm kind of glad they didn't, because I feel like I can't imagine either one being the other.
Yeah, I'm with you. I actually spent like a good chunk of the movie thinking that Bastian was the actor Kyle Howard, who was the boy in House Arrest. Do you remember that Jamie Lee Curtis, Kevin Pollak movie I watched?
The one where the parents are they're gonna get a divorce.
Arrest them in the basement.
Yeah.
Yes, and they stick him in the basement. Yeah, I thought it was that kid for like a serious chunk of the runtime, but it's not.
He's got a little bit of like an upturned nose. That kid. Is that who I'm thinking of?
I am not sure. If you saw a picture of him, you'd be like, oh, I get it. It's mostly haircut based, I think.
Yeah.
They have the same kind of like 90s kid bowl cut.
And so I was like, oh, we're okay. And then he just walks through the mirror, and I was like, I don't get what we just tested. Like, I don't know what we had to do.
It was like, you have to realize that you're a character in a book, and now you can see the Southern Oracle.
And then I will say I didn't love the design for the Southern Oracle because they just felt like statues.
Yes, agreed. I didn't love the princess either. The princess has like a weird.
She feels creepy, and nothing against this actress. Like I'm not making fun of a child, but like
she seems to be doing exactly what they asked of her. I just
exactly. They were asking her to be a little unsettling.
So we find out here is like the big thing in the movie. Like Atreyu needs Bastian's help because there must be a new name.
But it doesn't. It's not said like that. The Empress can only be saved by having a new name, and I was like, well, this is dumb. And they're like, only a human child can give her a name. And I was like, okay, so we're getting meta.
Yeah. And it's like, is Bastian reading this sentence? Because if so, it seems like an easy problem to solve.
Yeah, you would think. So then they start to fall apart.
Yes.
And Falcor and Atreyu fly because they have to go to the edge of Fantasia. Is that right?
Yes, this is the part of the movie I called Soarin' with Falcor.
Soarin' over Fantasia?
Yeah, it's just the Disney attraction Soarin', which you can YouTube if you're unaware, but it's just like a flyover of, used to be California, now it's just different locations around the world. Very fun thing, but he's just
really beautiful footage.
Hey, yeah, but this is just like Falcor being like, climb aboard, kid, I'll show you the world. And it's just like projections of the Grand Canyon and like
mountains,
all sorts of random places across America.
And then they're like, oh, they got to the Sea of Impossibility or the Sea of Possibility?
Yes, I think it's the Sea of Impossibility.
And they run into the Nothing Storm, and Atreyu gets knocked off Falcor and falls. And then we cut to the attic with Bastian, and I was like, oh shit, Atreyu's gonna fall into the attic.
Yep, it's exactly what I thought was about to happen here.
Because Bastian goes and shuts a window that had blown open, and he turns around and looks at the floor and goes, Atreyu. And I was like, yeah, Atreyu fell into the real world. And then
Would make so much sense.
Then the camera pans to just the book, and I was like, well, what the fuck?
It's just a book, kid. What are you doing? At this point I was like, is this kid sleeping at the school? Like, it is late. It is not like after school hours. It is late night.
It's the Page Master.
Yeah.
Which I think ends at like midnight. I think it's been a while.
Yeah. That movie is like animated and live action, right?
It's not like a Roger Rabbit. It starts human and then goes to animated and then goes to human.
Got it. Okay.
Because Macaulay Culkin himself gets animated.
Right.
And so I'm like, okay, so Atreyu and Falcor got separated, but we still need to get the kid from the human world, except they don't really seem to give a shit about that.
No. Atreyu meets the Rockbiter, which is, fun to see him back.
Mm-hmm. And another metaphor for depression. He's like, I try to hold on to my friends, but they left, and now I'm just sort of sitting and waiting for the same thing to happen to me. And I was like, yeah, wow.
Yeah. You just got a little Owen Wilson.
Yeah, wow. And then a real set has real cracks in it and really breaks apart.
Yeah, it's rad looking. It's really cool, and it seems a little bit dangerous for the actor.
A little bit.
That's okay.
I'm sure it was. It was filmed in Germany. I'm sure it was a little dangerous.
Yeah, I'm sure nothing was that heavy. It was probably mostly foam.
So it's also implied here that this is Fantasia still. The Nothing has just consumed a lot of it, most of it. So that's why it looks barren, and which is cool. I like that.
Yeah, the whole idea of it, like, honestly, even to extend your metaphor even further, like the Nothing is a metaphor for depression, as it just like sucks up everything good in your life, is also pretty apt. But yeah, they sort of give you a little explainer here. I think this is when he meets Gamork and Atreyu, that is, and it's like Fantasia is the land of fantasy, but the Nothing represents the loss of hope and dreams, which again, like right to the thing I just said about depression, loss of hopes and dreams. It all makes sense there.
It feels a little because there's 20 minutes left in this movie, 20 minutes left in this movie.
Yeah.
And they're like, by the way, Fantasia is all of humanity's dreams and hopes and fantasies.
Yes.
And the Nothing is just their crushing as adulthood.
Yeah. To use like a more theme park metaphor, which I'm sure everybody in this ride appreciates, my brain is irreversibly broken. But it's like, if you imagine the movie as like a roller coaster, there's a big hill you climb and then you sort of like go down the hill and there's some stuff where you end. This movie is like you climb a really steep roller coaster hill. It's click, 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 click. And at the very top, you just drop straight down. It just falls directly down. And then it's like, all right, the movie's over. Bye.
Yeah, I was like, can we get a few corkscrews in here? Give me a loop-de-loop.
Yeah, give me a twist, a turn. No, it's like huge hill, straight down, and then back to the thing and you get off.
Because this Gamork lays that on and I was like, so what are we trying to say with this movie then? Right. And Gamork is like, I was sent to kill Atreyu because he was the only thing that could defeat the darkness, or the Nothing.
Yeah.
And he's like, well, I'm going to go out fighting. And he picks up a knife. And I was like, you could have just said, I'm not Atreyu. Like,
yeah.
You didn't have to out yourself.
Steve.
Work smarter, not harder.
I don't know any Atreyus. My name is Steve.
Yeah, I don't know. I think you went that way.
Unlike every other thing that we've met in this movie, my name is Steve. It's very boring.
The best friend from T2 shows up. He's like, I think I saw him go that way.
Budnick is here.
Yes. And so Atreyu's like, if I'm going to die, I want to die fighting. Come on. And then we get a crack of lightning. And then that was it. There's no fight.
Yeah.
We don't get to see anything.
No.
And I was like,
no,
give me like 30 seconds. Come on.
Yeah. Deus Ex Lightning is deeply silly. And then also, like, while this is happening, there was a pendant that we had that we should have mentioned earlier, but that was what I was talking
about earlier, the Aeon or Aeon.
I didn't know I did not know the word for it. That's why it whoosh right in my head.
So in the beginning, when they give it to him, it's sort of treated like the witch's kiss in Wizard of Oz. That's just like, I'm going to give you a kiss and it's going to protect you. And that's sort of it. It was, this is the pendant that says you speak for the Empress. And I was like, oh, it's just going to give him like, people are going to respect what he has to say. And then all of a sudden they're like, no, it's magic.
It is rather ridiculous.
Because
but Falcor just like, it's lost and it's treated as a big moment. And then he's like, I'm going to fight you, Gamork. And then while that's happening, the
Falcor's swimming
is found by Falcor. Yeah. He's just like, oh, hey, I found it.
I can swim now.
Yeah.
It's the 11th hour. We should not be introducing the crux of our story here. Like, the midnight started to toll.
Yeah, exactly. There's like less than 10 minutes left in this movie when Fantasia gets destroyed, and I was just incredulous that this is how this is paced.
Yeah, and so Atreyu gets sort of like twistered, like, and it's a twister, and Falcor has to scoop him up, and they're like, we have to hope that the ivory is the ivory tower.
I don't know if that's actually what it's called, but it certainly is what it appears to be.
They're like, oh, we have to go to the Empress. And I was like, no, you have to find a fucking child. Like, you have to get a child. We talked about this.
Yeah, we know what the solution is. Seeing her is not going to help.
So
it's a cool representation though, because it's like there's a little bit of land and the ivory tower upon it, and then like everything else is nothingness. It's just a black.
It's kind of like it's floating on an asteroid.
Yes.
What was that Ninja Turtles thing?
And Falcor floating on an asteroid.
There was like the Ninja Turtles world. Like they sent Krang to this place where it was just like floating.
You have pulled Ninja Turtle lore that I have. It's as if you're speaking Latin to me right now. I have absolutely no idea what you're talking about.
Dimension X
cartoons. Wow, there you go. I do not remember Dimension X at all.
So the Empress feels creepy. Well, we said it before. Just there's something about the way they directed her. It's not her fault.
They have her doing like a porcelain doll routine, sort of like very frail and unable to move very much in her costume, and she talks in a way that makes her seem extremely fragile.
Yeah.
Actually, I heard a podcast talking about the actress who's in Last Night in Soho.
Anya Taylor-Joy?
Jesus,
Oh, no, Thomasin McKenzie.
No, the other one. Yeah, Thomasin McKenzie. She has this like really wild, vulnerable. It's just how she talks, but her voice makes her seem like very, very vulnerable. Mm-hmm. And I think a lot of that is what I did not care for in Last Night in Soho. Is like I did not that natural quality she brings to that performance made the performance not work for me in a way. And I was like, oh, I think that's it. But yeah, this is that dialed up on purpose with a very small child actor.
And then she goes, "We need the Earthling child," and I was like, no one said Earthling. Now yes. It's weird.
Yeah, we're not in Alien Town. We are in a fantasy world.
And then this bitch, and I can call her that because this is a bitch move. She goes, "No, I know what was needed the whole time," and I was like, "Excuse me?"
Well, here's the thing, like. Atreyu could be a little upset, but it's not as if he actually It's like
his horse died.
It's like I was like, my horse died. I went through a swamp. I had to fight like a weird ray beam from a gate. And she's like, oh, what about the other 10,000 miles of the journey? Well, that was the part where my dog flew me.
I fought a wolf. He fought a wolf.
I did fight a wolf. He did fight a wolf. It was a very easy fight, but he did fight a wolf.
Yeah, I was like, this is some Wizard of Oz bullshit. Where like, the power has been with you the whole time. Could have saved me a few steps.
Yes.
I would have tried if you didn't think I would believe you. I would have tried it. I would have humored you.
Yeah, exactly. Could have tried any options other than the one that you went with, which was basically let me suffer for a week and a half.
And so all of a sudden she's like, no, he's reading the story. And then she starts like naming things that happened in the real world.
Yes.
Because she says he's reading our story, but other people are reading his story. And I was like, okay, so we're now in the, like, we are a part of, like, that's kind of cool.
It's a metaverse.
Yeah. And Bastian is freaking out. But also earlier when the Sphinx said the Empress needs a new name, Bastian goes, if only they would ask me, my mom had the prettiest name. And I was like, oh,
yes,
cool.
yes.
We're going to get his mom's name.
Yeah.
And then when he does name the Empress, it's not, I hope it's not his mother's name, because he calls her Moonchild.
Also, that's not a name. Well, okay, I don't want to be disrespectful. That could be a name in another culture that is not mine. That's fine. But it sure seems like they're looking for like a Darla here.
Yeah, I was like, your mom's name Beth. Like,
yeah, it would be shocking to me to find out that Bastian's mother's name was Moonchild.
Unless she was like a real hippie commune girl.
Yeah, that's possible. That is very possible.
So Atreyu like dies, essentially.
Yes, there's like chaos and destruction. Like literally Fantasia is falling apart as this is happening. And there's a storm in the real world.
And so the Empress is like calling out to Bastian because Atreyu dies. Kind of, pretty much.
Yeah.
And she like stares right down the barrel of the camera to be like, call my name, Bastian. And so he throws open the shutters.
This part is really funny to me because it's like in the beginning of the movie, the dad only has the one scene, and his thing is like, remember, kid, you got to keep your feet on the ground, keep your head above your shoulders, like, you know, keep your head on your shoulders. You know, you're going to get through this. You just got to be, you know, on the straight and narrow. And he literally almost dooms humanity for giving that advice that day.
Yeah, again, I don't know what we're supposed to take away from this. Because,
right.
Hey, mom's like, been dead a while. Maybe it's time to come to reality is not bad advice.
Yeah, agreed.
Assuming like, mom's been dead a while. I don't know.
Right. It's like, no, you got to keep dreaming and having fun. And it's like, okay, well, this movie's got a lot of mixed messaging happening.
It does. So he calls out Moonchild into the night. He throws open the shutters like he's Ebenezer Scrooge. I was at Scrooge McDuck. Ebenezer Scrooge.
you boy, what day is it?
And so does she appear in the attic, or are they like in a void? I feel like they're in a void.
I think they're in a void. I got void out of this, but you know, correct us if you think differently.
And so she shows up and she opens her palm and there's like a glowing thing in there, and she goes, "This grain of sand is the last bit of Fantasia." And I was like, so everyone's dead.
Yeah, for sure, everyone's dead.
Because he's like, how? And she's like real glib about it, which again, you're a monster. Because she's like, well, you can dream and make a new Fantasia. And I was like, you can't bring back those people, can he? Like, can we?
She doesn't. It seems like he should get the grain of sand and also like a roster.
Yes.
And a description. Here's
like, the yearbook. Here's Fantasia's yearbook.
Yes. And it's like not just like a yearbook, but like the kind of thing they give out for like a sports team where it's like a super trading card. Each one. It's like, here's Atreyu. He's 5'10". He likes to eat shrimp. He does like it's like a whole like. Well, yeah, you gotta recreate him down to the molecule. You gotta know all these likes. It should have like a really exhaustive list of like likes and dislikes. Hates the color orange. Loves blue, you know, like it needs to be like a really thorough cloning happening. But that's what she needs to be giving him. It's like, okay, you can imagine anything you want, but you should start with this list of people, animals, and features so that we all don't have to live in the nothing void forever and ever and ever.
Because then she goes, you have to make a wish.
Atreyu is definitely not dead, but not alive. It's a state of being that is deeply
somewhere
torturous.
In the middle. But she goes, you have to make a wish. And he goes, well, how many wishes do I get? And she goes, as many as you want. And I was like, I am lost in the sauce.
The mythology's coming fast and furious.
There is 3 minutes left in this movie.
We are rapidly running out of movie. And you are just like, here's an info dump. Deal with it.
I can see the end of the runway. Like
Dad's putting his coat on. We are leaving this theater imminently.
Yeah, I can see the ground is cut. Like, we are touching down. The landing gear is out. We can't keep adding things.
A bunch of people are gonna clap in a minute. Like, they're about to start clapping.
Because he was like, okay. And she goes, what is your first wish? And he's riding Falcor. And I was like, I mean, that's cool. That's what I would wish for first. But, like, why are we wishing? And what's happening?
Also, shouldn't it be like anything you can imagine is real? Like, isn't that what this is supposed to be? The lesson is like, you can, the world is anything you want to make it, kid. Like, imagine it and it'll be real.
My new phrase, the world is your clam's casino.
Yes.
I like it better than oyster. It seems more fun.
Are you imagining the food or like an actual casino for clams?
It's both.
Okay.
There's a Clams Casino bar at the Clams Casino.
I'm picturing a clam with a cigar sticking out of its mouth doing our bad New York Italian accent. Being like, hey, kid, come over here and play some blackjack, would you?
Cherry, 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 winner!
He like ashes his cigar into another clam that's like,
an open clam.
Yeah, it's just like, oh, you hurt me. But I do love that not only is he just like riding Falcor, he's riding Falcor and buzzing other people. Like, he's attacking the bullies with Falcor.
Which, like, go for the bullies, but also...
Yes.
It's just in the real world. There's a flying dog dragon.
Yeah, the entire SWAT teams of the New York 5 boroughs are rolling in to start shooting at Falcor.
Nick Fury is sprinting to the Avengers signal.
Yes, it's just like... Falcor is going to be riddled with a bullet-ridden corpse in this moment.
The size of 2 city buses.
Yes. And I do like, though, that the bullies also jump in the trash can.
Yeah, that was nice.
That's like the end of the movie. Yeah. Like,
because first he flies over Fantasia. That's what it is. He flies over Fantasia to show, like, hey, everyone's alive now.
Yeah, I put everybody back.
This is the curtain call.
He's flying over. He's like, okay, and then Urgel. And Urgel doesn't like dairy, doesn't tolerate dairy, needs soy milk, likes
no, it's
carts.
like in Futurama when they have to keep going forward and their time machine can only go forward, not backwards. So they have to keep going forward until the universe keeps recreating itself. And Professor Barnes was like, I'll just lean out the window and shoot Hitler.
Yeah, exactly. Like, okay, and then Engelwook has
and then Gobbledygook.
Is that right? Oh no, we're going too fast. Okay, next person. It's like, yeah, I want to see the world where it's like everybody is like 88% correct.
Someone's got let's say like one person has like a foot, like a leg where their arm should be.
Yes.
And their face is just like a quarter sideways, and they're like, he was sloppy.
One person's got 3 arms, the next guy has 1 arm. You know what I mean? It's just like some of the details get lost, or like the joke many people have made of like the Star Trek transporter, where like some of that stuff has to get crossed away.
Yeah,
when they do that, right? It's just like, yeah, I mean, Rockbiter is suddenly made of just like a different rock now.
He probably could skip Gamork though.
Yeah. Don't remake the bad guys.
Mm-hmm.
Or he makes a little island and he puts like Gamork and Scar from The Lion King.
Or he just does it
like on this
Emperor's New Groove, and Gamork is a tiny puppy. Like Yzma becomes a kitty cat.
They gotta like he's like, well, you can be alive, but you have to start over, and we'll see if you're still.
And I'll time. if you prove you're good, I'll let you grow, but you're gonna stay a puppy.
Yes.
You're on probation, buddy.
You're on life probation.
Yes.
If you do bad, I will repuppy you. So like I can do that. I am God being of your world.
I am a god now.
So if you get out of line, I will just start you over. Just know that.
I mean I love that idea.
He's constantly monitoring the world. It's like whenever like there seems like a bad guy's growing, it's like a new baddie is coming. Just suddenly they're a baby. Like they're in like step 2 of the play. Like Rita Repulsa is like just getting into teenage Rita Repulsa, and she's like, one day I will be in control. And it's just she's a baby in the middle of the sentence. I would watch the hell out of this. This is a very good idea.
I'm surprised it didn't happen in the 80s, 90s when baby shows were a craze.
Yeah. Lil baddies.
Yeah, little villains.
Yeah, I'd watch it. They're like trying to steal milk or something.
Yes, exactly. So yeah, a giant dog dragon the size of 2 city buses terrorizes the city, and then a narrator we've never heard before goes,
yes, this is very weird.
Bastian went on many adventures in Fantasia, but that's a story for another time. And I was like, huh?
I thought it was supposed to be the bookseller, but it's definitely not the same voice.
I don't think it is. Yeah, it was not the same voice. It's a good voice. I love this voice, but it is. I don't know who it is.
That seemed like a okay, you gotta add something to this movie to get out of there. And they're like, and there's more, and they're like, perfect. That's a picture.
Because apparently this is only I think I read somewhere that this is the first half, like this is half of the first book.
It feels like that.
But also, like, where do you go for, like, it doesn't feel like half a book. It feels like 3/4 of a book. I'm like, where do you go from there?
Yeah, okay, that's fair. I mean, I feel like the book would probably have him rebuilding Fantasia, right? Like putting things back, and then like the melting of the worlds part would be part of that, I would think. We talked a little bit in the run up to this episode. I think it was just something I mentioned in passing at the other one, but I had remembered as a kid watching one of the sequels a whole bunch. I remember it being like a fashion show. I think I remember watching it at a friend's house. It turned out to be the third one. I didn't know that, but it turned out to be the third one. There's like a fashion show. There's like a I'm Too Sexy type montage. I don't think they use I'm Too Sexy, but they like go to a mall and they like try on a bunch of outfits. And I was
go to a mall?
Like, okay. Yes. It takes place mostly in the real world, apparently.
Yeah, that's what people want.
Yeah. But it was like, NeverEnding Story 3 has this long mall sequence. And I think so I looked up, they're not connected. Like none of the 3 movies they're not like actual sequels where it's
weird.
Like continuing the story. They all seem to be just standalone NeverEnding Story stories. But the third one does indeed have a long sequence in a mall in which there's a fashion show. So I didn't make that up.
Weird.
I think I had like a child boy crush on the girl in that one.
Okay.
But yeah, so the sequels are, I mean, on the table as possible episodes, but doesn't seem like something that would be nearly as fun to watch as this.
Probably not. I mean, I'm curious if they're short, I might check them out someday. But
yeah, I was shocked at how enjoyable I found this. To be honest with you, I was kind
breezy.
Of expecting this to be a bit of a slog. Super cool creatures. There's no like standout egregiously bad acting.
Even the kids are good.
Flies by. Yeah, they're both perfectly capable of doing what this movie asked them to do, and it flies by.
Mm-hmm. You blink and it's over.
Yeah. This is like an easy watching movie. I've seen some 90-minute movies that I am just like, I cannot believe this is still happening to me, and this is the complete opposite of that. So sorry, this is a bit of a shorter episode, but there is not much meat on this bone. This is
I like it's very enjoyable. But
yeah, instead of being like a meaty rack of ribs, this is like a skewer with some chicken on it. Like,
yes,
delicious, right? Like I love a satay skewer, but a satay skewer is not a meal. It is as a preamble or a snack. But yeah, it's a fun movie to watch. I was shocked at how much I enjoyed this.
Yeah, because I didn't know what to expect. I was like, is this going to be like Legend? Am I gonna be bogged down in a bunch of nonsense? And like a little bit, but it was fun.
Yeah. It's like so. The movie doesn't take any of this stuff very seriously. So when you're like, well, wait, what's that? The movie is just like already 3 steps past it. And you're like, well, they didn't care.
I gotta keep up, I guess.
Yeah. Whereas like Legend sort of belabors all of its points.
Well, and Legend had Tim Curry amazing, and they were like,
yes,
and we're not gonna use it. Yeah. So like, I got mad.
Yeah. Whereas this, like, we got a weird dog. Does that do anything for you?
We got Dog Dragon. We got Rockman.
Yeah. And I was like, I would hang out with more Rockman. I would have taken 3 more scenes of Rockman, but I'm fine without it. It's okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would say recommend here
for sure.
It's streaming. I forget where I got. Is it? I think it might be on my library.
It's on. You got it from the library Hoopla.
Okay, so if your library has Hoopla streaming, it's on there, and I think it's somewhere else as well, but I don't remember. But you can.
I'm surprised Netflix didn't grab it for Stranger Things.
Yeah, you'd think somebody would. Yeah, you'd think that would have been. Maybe they did have it last year when that came out.
Or 3 years ago.
Was it 3 years ago?
We went. It was when we went in 2019.
Wow, I don't think I put that together until you. I did not put that together until.
Yeah, because there was NeverEnding Story in that house.
Yeah, you're right. Holy shit, that's a long time.
Yeah.
Wow.
Let's come back.
Yeah, it comes back this weekend.
I hope Netflix is putting out a 30-minute recap that I can watch, because I don't.
Yeah.
I just put me up to speed. I watched it before. I don't want to do it again.
It just came out when this episode has aired. It came out the Friday before this episode.
Oh,
so
okay.
we actually timed this up quite nicely with the Stranger Things connection, I suppose.
There we go.
Really, really quick, because I don't want to do a whole episode on this, but both of us really like the Chip and Dale reboot.
Yeah.
Highly worth your time. It
has no business being as good as it is.
Speaking of movies that are 90 minutes long and fly by, Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers, baby.
Easy, breezy, beautiful chipmunks.
Really good, genuinely very funny, super, super entertaining. And I definitely remember watching the show as a kid, but I couldn't have pointed to any specific memories. But there was 3 or 4 things in it that were I was like, oh, I remember that. And it was the genuine, it wasn't the I'm sure, whatever. It was the what's his name? Not
Mandela?
Chip or Dale or Gadget, the big guy.
Oh, Monterey Jack.
Monterey Jack. When he would his eyes would go crazy and he would float to the
mustache
cheese.
puffed out.
Yeah. I was I completely forgot about this, and as soon as I saw it, I was like, oh yeah, he used to do this.
That was his excited face. I remember.
Yeah. Super, super entertaining. Highly recommended.
This generation's Roger Rabbit. I'm not mad about it.
Yeah, it's a Roger Rabbit remake more than it is a Chip and Dale movie, or is a Roger Rabbit remake starring Chip and Dale, who's also in it for a minute.
Who's in it briefly?
More, but yeah, as is MC Scat Cat
and Paula Abdul in a de-aged.
Really good.
I mean, I acknowledge I'm not the only one to say it. I thought using Peter Pan was in poor taste, considering what happened to Peter Pan's voice actor, Bobby Driscoll.
Yeah, I did not know that part. It is kind of sad, but the premise is funny.
The premise is funny, but yeah.
So I assume that nobody knew that, but we'll see.
Well, no, if you on the Wikipedia, it says several critics have taken issue with the fact that it bears that. I thought it was in poor taste.
No, I'm assuming the creators did not intentionally.
Oh yeah, no, I don't. Yeah, I don't think they were let's shit on this
Peter Pan
child
sucks.
actor.
Yeah, okay, yeah. But yeah, you should go see that. But yeah, go see both those movies. These are both very entertaining. Thank you so much for listening to the show. Hit us up on Facebook or at Dissect the 80s on Twitter. We'd love to hear from you. If you haven't done a review yet, please do that. We just got one on our last episode. We're thrilled to read those out. So we read them if you do them. So please review the show and tell 2 friends, as always, about it if you like it. Get more episodes, including one in a week or so, on probably 2 weeks, if I'm being honest, on Stripes, the Bill Murray military vehicle that was suggested by and for the Patreon crew. Let's check that out there. And if you want to drop us a line, dissectingthe80s@gmail.com. Always happy to hear from listeners. Thank you so very much for listening to the show. I have been Trip Lano.
I will always be Andrew Lano.
Until next time.
Don't you forget about me.
Dissecting the 80s is a Chum Some of This production.